The tale revolves around a wealthy tycoon named Kim Min-kyu who grapples with a peculiar illness. Whenever he makes physical contact with another person, he breaks out in painful rashes and struggles to breathe. In severe cases, he can even faint or worse. Despite his longing for companionship, his condition bars him from approaching women, leaving him to wallow in solitude for 15 years. His only confidant is his personal physician, Dr. O, who tirelessly searches for a cure but comes up empty-handed. One day, Dr. O advises Min-kyu to accept his solitary existence and equips him with a smartwatch that gauges the severity of his allergic reactions through color-coded alerts. Blue signals normalcy, yellow indicates a mild reaction, orange signifies impending respiratory distress, and red warns of imminent death, a level of severity he's yet to face. Then, a breakthrough emerges when a brilliant scientist named Professor Hong offers Min-kyu a solution, an ultra-intelligent robot capable of aiding him in daily tasks without posing any health risks. This robot, AG-3, comes with a hefty price tag of 100 billion won. Initially skeptical, Min-kyu visits Professor Hong's lab to investigate. There, he encounters AG-3, a stunningly lifelike robot who introduces herself as the professor's creation. To Min-kyu's surprise, touching her triggers no adverse reaction. Intrigued, he expresses interest in purchasing AG-3 and even invests in the project, albeit with a caveat: he insists on putting the robot to the test first. However, tragedy strikes that very night when a mishap at the lab results in AG-3's core processor malfunctioning due to a spilled droplet of soda. With the robot out of commission for days, Professor Hong faces a dilemma. If AG-3 isn't delivered to Min-kyu by the next day, their deal could fall through. Thus, he scrambles to devise a new strategy. He recalls his ex, Ji-ah, who surprisingly turns out to be the model for the robot AG-3. Because Wong designed the robot to look exactly like her, he seeks her out. Their reunion is awkward, and upon learning Ji-ah is struggling financially, he offers her 10 million won to pretend to be AG-3 for a day. Though hesitant to do her ex a favor, Ji-ah's financial woes lead her to accept. Professor Wong takes Ji-ah to his lab to show her the robot. The scientists collaborate to transform her into AG-3, outfitting her with armor, a new wig, and even contact lenses equipped with cameras for monitoring. These lenses also relay instructions to Ji-ah in the form of text or videos. The following day, Ji-ah heads to Min-kyu's place as planned. However, when he opens the box, he's taken aback. They've actually met before when she delivered food, an encounter marred by his attempt to avoid physical contact. Min-kyu contacts the professor, who explains that AG-3 has two modes, professional and friendly. He believes the robot is in friendly mode and resets her accordingly. Min-kyu decides to test Ji-ah's intelligence. But when the lab loses power, Ji-ah loses connection to the AG-3 system and must rely on her own abilities, despite her IQ of only 94. Initially, she's tasked with solving a complex calculus problem to unlock a box, which she circumvents by breaking it open. Then she's challenged to peel an egg without tools, a task she accomplishes easily due to her restaurant experience. Impressed, Min-kyu praises the robot's intelligence and creativity. Ji-ah, never praised for her intelligence, gives a gentle smile. Simultaneously, the lab's power returns, and they witness Ji-ah angrily confronting Min-kyu through her lenses. She accuses him of being a creep, as she caught him ogling her chest, which he claims has grown overnight. He tries to justify by suggesting he wants to inspect her battery pack, but it's an obvious excuse. The professor is mortified, barely able to respond when Min-kyu calls. "Who are you trying to fool?" Min-kyu demands, but they breathe a sigh of relief when he accuses them of using inferior batteries, causing AG3's chest to expand. Hong stammers and fibs about upgrading AG3's batteries, also warning Min-Kyu to keep his hands off her chest. After the call, Min-Kyu takes his medication but suddenly chokes, collapsing to the floor in convulsions. Luckily, Ji-ah steps in, patting his back to help him. As Min-Kyu recovers, he gazes at the robot in astonishment. Wondering why she helped without instructions, Ji-ah simply replies that she's capable of many things. This marks their first physical interaction, surprisingly without any adverse reactions from Min-Kyu. At the day's end, Ji-ah gets taken back to the lab. Professor Hong gives her a scolding because she nearly got caught, but Ji-ah feels peeved because she reckons she did a good job. Fed up with never getting credit, she storms out. Then, the professor gets bad news. The special part they needed for AG3's fix was sent to Africa by mistake, and it'll take at least 2 weeks to arrive. To add to the mess, Min-Kyu calls, wanting to borrow AG3 for a month to teach it some advanced tricks. With no other choices, the professor calls Ji-ah again and asks her to pose as the robot for a while. This time, he heaps praise on her and offers more cash, so she agrees on the spot. He explains that until AG3 is back online, Ji-ah will have to work at the mansion during the day and return to the lab each night to recharge. The next day at work, Ji-ah has a sudden bout of explosive diarrhea. She tries to hold it in but accidentally lets out a fart. Confused, Min-Kyu asks what the noise was, and Ji-ah, pretending to be the robot, says it was just her master passing gas. The smell spreads, so she tells him to change clothes, and he falls for it, leaving them alone. Ji-ah rushes to the toilet, but Min-Kyu comes back early and finds AG3 missing. He searches everywhere and catches her spraying his pricey perfume in the bathroom. She claims to be cleaning, but Min-Kyu doubts her since robots aren't supposed to touch water. Ji-ah lies, saying she's an advanced AI skilled at dishwashing. As Min-Kyu is leaving, he notices she's sweating, and when he tries to get closer, he slips on soap. Ji-ah tries to help, but instead, she accidentally lands on him, hurting his ribs with her iron plate. That evening, while Ji-ah is tidying up, she accidentally knocks over Min-Kyu's meticulously built card castle, the result of 15 years of effort. Witnessing this catastrophe, Min-Kyu lets out a cry of despair. Before he can say anything, Ji-ah claims her battery is running low and pretends to go into standby mode. Later, he vents his frustration to the professor about Ji-ah's mishaps, but the professor advises him to be patient and let Ji-ah learn more deeply. Min-Kyu reluctantly agrees to give AG3 more time. The following day, Min-Kyu is thrilled to see a visitor and quickly warns Ji-ah to stay inside. To his shock, it's his first love, Riel. However, his excitement quickly turns to dread when Riel touches his shoulder. Min-Kyu tries to avoid her gaze and hides the rash spreading on his skin. He fabricates an urgent meeting excuse and rushes home. Struggling, he makes it to his off-limits room and reaches for the antidote syringe, but his weakness prevents him from grasping it. When Ji-ah discovers him, Min-Kyu is collapsed on the floor, struggling for breath. Suddenly, the scene shifts back to Min-Kyu's normal life, before his allergy to human touch. He reminisces about building his first card house, cheered on by his parents. When it collapses, his dad cheers him up with magic tricks. Another memory surfaces of his birthday party, where they play word games on the way home. Tragically, a birthday balloon obstructs his dad's view, causing a fatal accident with a truck. Awakening in the hospital, Min-Kyu grieves for his parents, who perished in the crash. He recalls their last moments together and how balloons now carry a painful memory. Throughout the day, relatives visit, vying to become his guardian for the inheritance. However, he discovers a cryptic message urging him not to sign anything. Later, his friend YouTube presents adoption papers, explaining that his father sent him and suggesting they become brothers. After careful consideration, Min-Q signs the papers. Excited, YouTube tightly clasps his friend's hand for support. But when Min-Q glances down, he sees YouTube's hand transforming into monstrous claws. Panicked, Min-Q bolts away, screaming, while strange blisters start appearing on his own hands where YouTube touched him. YouTube later hands his father adoption papers, claiming the task is done. But as his father flips through, he discovers "son of a" scrawled instead of Min-Q's signature, realizing the kid just wants solitude. Meanwhile, young Min-Q returns to his dim, empty mansion, choosing to live isolated, feeling betrayed by everyone. His bitterness toward humans leads to an allergy. Growing up, only his personal doctor knows about it. In the present, Min-Q wakes up startled with Ji-ah beside him, dreaming of betrayal. Surprisingly, he's unharmed, thanks to Ji-ah's injection. Gratefully, he pinches Ji-ah's cheeks, appreciating her help. Their bond strengthens as they spend more time together. Min-Q invites Ji-ah on a date with Riel, which ends poorly. As Riel extends her hand in friendship, Min-Q reluctantly shakes it, triggering his allergy. Struggling to breathe, he debates using his syringe, weary of his life. His smartwatch alarms, distracting him, and he drops the syringe. Ji-ah arrives just in time to calm him down. Sitting beside him, her presence soothes him, and his condition stabilizes. It seems he's fully recovered without the syringe. They head back home, but Min-Q accidentally collides with a gardener and falls while turning a corner. Initially, Min-Q experiences a moment of panic when a passerby grabs him and Q, checking if he's okay. To his surprise, his allergies remain dormant. Encouraged by this, he ventures into bustling crowds, something he hasn't dared in 15 years. As they explore, a child accidentally bumps into Min-Q's hand, yet no allergic reaction occurs. They continue to mingle in a crowd, watching an outdoor show, where Min-Q flinches when someone grabs his hand for a wave. However, a quick check of his monitor reassures them that everything is fine. Overwhelmed with emotion, Min-Q's eyes well up, and he utters, "I'm finally free from this allergy." He steps aside to make a call to his personal doctor, Dr. O, tearfully sharing the news of his newfound cure. But just as he's celebrating, a passerby jostles him, triggering his monitor to alarm loudly. Meanwhile, Ji-ah searches for Min-Q, and when they reunite, his pulse steadies, and his rashes vanish. Min-Q gazes at Ji-ah in disbelief. However, when another couple obstructs his view, his symptoms return. When Dr. O inquires about nearby individuals, Min-Q confesses someone is present. He reveals that his rashes vanish when he sees someone, and they reappear when he doesn't. Tearfully, he admits to Ji-ah that she's the exception. After ending the call, Min-Q embraces Ji-ah, expressing gratitude, "It's because you're here with me." He pledges to buy her the most enduring batteries and declares, "Stay with me forever, you're my most precious treasure." As Ji-ah stares in astonishment, the surrounding crowd cheers for them, prompting Min-Q to plant a kiss on her forehead. No ring, though, typical cheapskate. Back at home, Min-Q reassures Dr. O that despite mingling with many folks, he feels perfectly okay. He then positions himself in front of his mirrors, holding up his phone as proof. Dr. O is astounded that, for the first time in years, Min-Q doesn't need medication after being around people. He attributes this to the robot that's been with Min-Q for the past 10 days, calling it a miracle. Dr. O instructs Min-Kyu to jot down everything that's happened since the robot arrived so they can figure out its significance. Over the next few days, they conduct various experiments, all indicating that Minky is comfortable with humans as long as the robot GI is present. Therefore, he takes her along whenever he meets someone and considers her his most prized possession. Meanwhile, the AG-3 robot is finally fixed. It can operate normally but needs time to adjust and transition smoothly. Professor Han mentions needing a few more days before AG-3 fully learns and is ready. Jia, who's starting to settle into her new routine, feels saddened by the news. One day, Min-Kyu takes Jia to a posh restaurant but seats her alone at another table. He warmly greets Real and her father, engaging in conversation while a visibly upset Jia watches on. Eventually, when Min-Kyu comes to fetch her, she ignores his hand and leaves on her own. This pattern continues for a while. Min-Kyu feels secure only when Jia is present, but everything changes one day when he's alone. Min-Kyu pulls up at a gas station, ready with his credit cards and cash. When he gets his card back from the attendant, their hands accidentally touch, but Min-Kyu doesn't notice, lost in his thoughts as he drives off. It's not until a few minutes later that he realizes the accidental contact and checks himself for any skin reactions. Surprisingly, everything seems fine, and even his monitor shows he's okay, despite being alone. Concerned about the incident, he schedules a meeting with his personal doctor. Upon arrival, Min-Kyu overwhelms Dr. O with a grateful hug, thanking him for his years of dedicated work, signaling that he's finally cured completely. After settling down, the doctor asks what brought on such happiness, to which Min-Kyu replies that he's finally grasped the concept of love. Naturally, Dr. O assumes he's referring to Real, and suggests he also acknowledge AG-3. Dr. O then advises Min-Kyu that now he's fully cured, he can let go of AG-3, explaining that his attachment to the robot stemmed from being his first friend in 15 years. But now, with his recovery, he can find deeper joy in human relationships. Min-Kyu protests, insisting that AG-3 brought him happiness, but Dr. O sees it as a mere illusion, urging Min-Kyu to experience genuine human connection. Later that evening, a downcast Min-Kyu confides in Professor Hong about his feelings for AG-3. Professor Hong understands Min-Kyu's attachment to his first friend in so long, especially considering she played a part in his recovery. Min-Kyu admits that AG-3 makes him feel alive, but Professor Hong reminds him that she's just a pre-programmed robot. Upon hearing Minku's distress, he confesses his turmoil to the professor and pleads for help through his tears. The next day, Wang approaches Min-Kyu with a suggestion, resetting AG-3 to erase her memories and aid in moving forward. Though devastated, Min-Kyu recognizes it as the only solution. Later, Jia learns of the plan, leaving her heartbroken. Dressing as AG-3 one final time, Jia stands before Min-Kyu in his home as snowflakes drift outside. They share a last walk together, returning to confront reality. Min-Kyu acknowledges the everyday moments she brought back to him after 15 years, thanking her for being his friend and solace, and apologizing once more. Jia struggles to contain her emotions, expressing gratitude and regret while wishing for Min-Kyu's future happiness. With a tearful gaze, Min-Kyu initiates AG-3's reset, despite Jia's reminder of the permanent memory loss it entails. Before pressing the button, Min-Kyu places his mother's necklace around Jia's neck, embracing her tightly as he declares his love. As the countdown to reset begins, Min-Kyu's tears flow freely, holding on to Jia until the final moment. Back at the lab, the real AG-3 reports the deletion of Minku's folder. That night, Minku and Xia find solace in their tears, while Jia's sorrow leads to illness and hospitalization, still wearing Min-Kyu's necklace. As life moves forward, Jia returns to her hometown with her grandmother, while Min-Kyu prepares for his upcoming wedding with Real. One day, Min-Kyu boards the train and spots a familiar face, Jia, who he suspects is his former robot. Despite sitting side by side, they stay silent. Jia has strict orders not to acknowledge him, leaving Min-Kyu uncertain if she's truly a robot. Without delay, he calls Professor Wang to inquire about Ashitri's creation. Wang discloses that he modeled the robot after someone he knew, capturing her appearance, personality, and habits. Min-Kyu wonders if he can interact with her, to which Wang agrees, advising him to avoid awkwardness by staying quiet. Ignoring the advice, Min-Kyu follows Jia to her grandma's shop and offers to chat. Jia claims to be busy, but Min-Kyu refuses to budge, determined to wait. In the meantime, Jia rushes to the kitchen, hiding a necklace on a plate. Hours pass, but Min-Kyu remains steadfast. Faced with his persistence, Jia reluctantly engages with him, revealing her past as a character model who once stole money. Min-Kyu probes further, prompting Jia to threaten involving the police. However, Min-Kyu cunningly secures lodging from Jia's grandma, much to her dismay. Over the following days, he forms a bond with grandma, catching Jia's attention and stirring memories of their past together. One evening, grandma assigns Jia the task of fetching items from a warehouse. Due to the late hour, she enlists Min-Kyu's company for the errand. Jia, though hesitant, agrees and drives them to the location. Along the journey, they exchange glances, evoking memories of the past. Gradually, Jia begins to open up, and they engage in conversation until they arrive at the warehouse. Unfortunately, as they gather the needed items, someone unknowingly locks the door, trapping them inside. With no way out, the duo spends the night together, deepening their connection. The following day, upon being discovered by someone unlocking the door, they return to grandma's shop and assist with cooking. During their time together, Min-Kyu nearly spots a necklace, but Jia manages to conceal it once more. The next day, Min-Kyu seeks out Jia at the restaurant, only to learn she's already departed. Disheartened, he searches for her until he finds her at the pier. Jia hurriedly hides the necklace upon spotting him, but it's too late. This triggers Min-Kyu's memories of his encounter with AG3 and the realization that he was deceived, igniting his anger. Before he can confront Jia, his allergy resurfaces unexpectedly, indicating a dire situation with the red indicator, a first for him. In the climactic moment, he collapses in despair, with slim chances of survival. Turn on alerts, like, and subscribe for more videos similar to this one. Thank you for watching.